Hey guys, Mr. Happy here and welcome to Final Fantasy Bestiary. This series is dedicated towards discovering the history and lore behind some of Final Fantasy's most iconic creatures and characters. This episode, we will look at the whale Bismarck. Bismarck's inspiration comes from a place much more recent in history than other Final Fantasy assets. He is likely based off of the German battleship that was sunk by the British Navy during World War II, which was named the Bismarck. It was one of two ships classified as Bismarck class, the other being the Tirpitz. It was named after German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, a leading force behind the unification of Germany in 1871, where he proclaimed Kaiser Wilhelm I as the new leader of the now united Germany. In the Final Fantasy universe, Bismarck isn't exactly the most popular of summons or creatures. In fact, Bismarck didn't make his first appearance until Final Fantasy VI, where he was an Esper in the form of a giant whale. He replaced Leviathan in this game as the obligatory water summon. His signature attack is called Breach Blast, and just involves him flying around the screen and leaving a bunch of bubbles behind, blasting in the enemy's direction. Bismarck's reign as a Final Fantasy summon was cut short pretty quickly. He was cut so far out of the series that when Final Fantasy VI was remade for the Game Boy Advance over a decade later, Leviathan replaced Bismarck and took back his rightful place as the water summon of the game. In fact, Bismarck wouldn't be seen again in any major Final Fantasy title until 15 years later, when Final Fantasy XIII was released in 2009. Even here, Bismarck's role was pretty abysmal. He was relegated to an aquatic foul sea that protects the Sulyas Springs of Grand Pulse. Now, while he has never fought, Bismarck is described as very protective of this area, though he rarely uses a direct means of eliminating his opponents. He is also responsible for reshaping the lands through water erosion. Despite this interesting backstory, Bismarck is given very little face time. Interacting with him through the forms of examining a bubbly disturbance at the top of the water triggers a cutscene in which Lightning mentions that they should lure him out of the water to gain an advantage in what seemed like an inevitable fight with Bismarck. However, all that happens is that a few platforms rise and some monsters and treasure spheres on them, and the party is never given the opportunity to fight him. It appears Bismarck was going to be present in Final Fantasy XIII too, but it was scrapped from the final project. Bismarck's next appearance would go back a few Final Fantasy games to Final Fantasy XI, where he appeared in the Void Watch series of battles that were released from 2011 on. Bismarck was a boss present when the final chapter was released in March 2012. He would be spawned from the planar rifts in Bibiki Bay. Bismarck continued the tradition of taking on the appearance of a whale, and is actually one of Void Watch's most difficult adversaries. Capable of severely debilitating auto attacks, a plethora of AoEs, and even a conal AoE that inflicts instant death. Unfortunately, there is little backstory to Bismarck himself, though the Void Watch storyline he is a part of is far more interesting. Now, Bismarck had appeared in a few of Square Enix's smaller titles within the series, such as Final Fantasy Unlimited, the card game, Airborne Brigade, and Chocobo Tales. However, as of Saturday, October 25th, Bismarck was confirmed to be a part of Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Heavensward. In this expansion, he is to appear as the primal, or summon of this game, of the Vanu Vanu beast tribe, and has been reimagined as a sky whale, having wings and being capable of flight. His design has overall been revamped to make him look much more threatening, and the means with which to fight such a creature may come down to fighting him while on an airship. Unfortunately, that is all we know about this incarnation of him thus far. And that is all for this week's Bestiary. Hopefully you enjoyed the little backstory on Bismarck I decided to put together. If you did, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and check out the rest of my Bestiary series. You can find it in the description of the video below. But anyway guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.